Hello everyone, it's your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black One Only here with another exciting video. Stay tuned as I get everything set up. This video currently doesn't have the right name or the right description or tag, so I'm going to have to set that up, but once I'm done setting everything up, I'll be able to start up the video. Today's video is going to be a review of Aquaman Deep Dives Issue 3, so please give me one moment to get all the video details squared away, and then once I'm done getting that set up, we should be good to go. Also, hopefully we won't have any technical difficulties. Yesterday, we had some technical difficulties on stream, so I'll be keeping a lookout for that during the stream. Also, I don't know how loud the music is for you guys. Hopefully it's not blowing you guys away or anything. Okay, so let's see. I should be squared away in just a second. Right now the video has, well, technically you guys wouldn't see it yet, but I just changed the title to be correct. Now the tags are correct, so I'm going to save that. There we go. Okay. I keep forgetting to make a thumbnail ahead of time for these videos, but I honestly could, and it wouldn't even be like, it wouldn't be hard to do. I just don't think about it. Monetization's already on, which is cool. So now I'm going to open this up on YouTube so I can grab the live chat and put it inside of the stream. It throws me how loud I have the music versus how much you guys can hear the music. Because you guys will always be like, it's fine, but to me, it's almost blowing me away, like, in the room. Volt say, yo, what's good? Yo, Volt, good to see you. How's it going? Yo, Nostalgia Kid Gaming. He said, Ednica Benson, how's it going? And as always, thank you for asking, my guys. How are you guys' day today? Do you guys have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Also, if you refresh the page, now it'll straight up just say that it's Aquaman Deep Dives Issue 3 Daily Comic Review, which is good, because that's what it should say. Give me one moment. Now I just need to put the chat inside of everything. Young Pressure said, you seen Tokyo Ghoul? I've not seen Tokyo Ghoul. I've heard good things. I've heard it's like a good anime. I haven't been watching a lot of anime recently. Today I got a little bit more, and this isn't an anime, but I got a little bit more into Legends of Tomorrow, because it's been a minute since I watched it. Okay. There we go. So, oh, this is an ad that's on. I was like, what are these words I'm hearing? I hope I don't get copyright striked by an ad. That would suck. But right now I have non-copyright cinematic music playing in the background. So that should work out well. Here we go. So now you guys should be able to see the live chat on screen. So I'll be able to start up the video momentarily. Young Pressure said, what about Black Butler? I have not seen Black Butler. So I'm going to start up the video. Once I start up the video itself, I'll still read the live chat, but I won't really go in depth on the live chat until after I'm done doing the review. So when new people pop in, I'll say, hey, I'll ask them how they're doing and stuff like that. But I'll answer questions and be more interactive once the review is finished. So yeah, without further ado, I'm about to start up the review in 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, it's your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black One Only here with another exciting video. In this video, we're going to be reviewing Aquaman Deep Dives Issue 3. If you guys are interested in picking up this book for yourselves, feel free to do so using the Amazon affiliate link located in the description box below. Using that link will allow you to pick up the book and to support the channel because some of the proceeds come back to us. Truly appreciate it. Today's book is called Tempest, and it actually was like a pretty fast read. I was surprised at like how quickly I was able to go through this book. Nostalgia Gaming asked, is posting links not allowed? I think YouTube stops you guys from posting links in the live chat. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to walk you guys through the book. I'm going to give like a summary as I flip through the pages. Then after that, I'm going to tell you guys my favorite part, my least favorite part, and then I'm going to recommend the book to people who I think would enjoy it. So the book starts off in Manhattan, and Aquaman more or less is talking about how before Atlantis sank, Manhattan was like home to like sorcerers, and the sorcerers had essentially locked this giant monster underneath what eventually became Manhattan. So now the giant monster has been freed. He's broken out of like this stone tablet. He's inside of the New York subway, and he's just wreaking havoc. So immediately we're like in the middle of some shit. Aquaman is teamed up with his sidekick Garth, who used to be Aqualad, but is now older, and he's known as Tempest. Essentially, there was a period of time where Aquaman's sidekick kind of went off and kind of did his own thing, and he learned magic, and he can manipulate water and stuff like that. Tempest is actually a really cool character, and I really like his design. So I was excited to see him in this book. But Aquaman and Tempest are in the New York subway trying to essentially fight this giant sea monster that's been broken free from his tomb that he's been in for like thousands of years. So they rush in, and their first objective is to try and like get people out of the way. There are a bunch of like civilians who are in danger, and they're like, we need to save them, like by any means necessary. So they're jumping in, they're pulling people out of the water, they're trying to fight it. Aquaman starts thinking about how the monster was sealed away, and he essentially comes to the conclusion that from the monster's perspective, like no time has passed, because he was like magically sealed within a tablet. So he's like, the monster was put in a tablet, and then now he's suddenly out of it, and he doesn't understand anything that's going on. Like, he's like, this monster probably hasn't even like seen a normal human before, because he's so old that he like predates like modern man. And he's confused by like what a subway is, and he doesn't know like anything that's going on. So Aquaman's like, to be honest, this monster doesn't really seem like he's like super like creepy or like evil or anything like that. He just probably doesn't know what's happening. Also, it throws me that there are so many ads on like the no copyright music. I'm trying to avoid a strike to the best of my ability. Okay. So Aquaman essentially goes, yo, Tempest, I need you to use your water magic in order to save the people in the subway. I need you to help get them out of harm's way. And then Tempest is like, don't you think I already know to do that? I'm using my magic like right now to get them out of the way. But then Aquaman's like, yeah, but you're doing like that pussy shit. You're doing like water bending. But you can straight up like teleport things. Like you have like full-on magic capabilities. You're like a sorcerer. But instead you're just moving water around. He's like, I need you to do like some big magic shit. To which then Tempest goes, well, the last time I tried to do anything other than just move water around, it was really bad. He's like, just trust me on this. You don't want me to use my full power, because the cost of my magic is like sometimes higher than the benefit of the magic itself. So that's like the big conversation that Tempest and Aquaman are having, where Aquaman's like, you gotta push past your limits, and then Tempest is like, no, because literally everybody could die if I tried to push past my limits. Like, it might be worse for us to do it in that way. So Aquaman is trying to keep the monster busy while Tempest tries to save the citizens, and Aquaman's like, well, if you're not going to like use your full potential and really go all out with your magic, then I just have to give it all I've got in this fight against the monster while you get the civilians to safety. So cops show up, they start shooting at the monster. The monster does react, so he doesn't seem like he's fully bulletproof. A kid falls down into the water, and Aquaman's like, oh shit, this kid's gonna drown. He kind of like uses super hearing, it seems like. That's the way they imply it. is that he's able to like somehow like hear him over everything else that's going on. I wasn't sure that Aquaman had super hearing, but I guess he does. So Aquaman tries to jump down and swim after the kid, but the sea monster yagas him out of the water before he can save the kid. So then Tempest is like, hold on, if I like manipulate the water, I can make the tide curl and free the kid. And he looks like he's like straining to do it because the monster is like trying to fight him at the same time. So what Aquaman does, and I didn't know Aquaman could do this, Aquaman telepathically communicates with rats in the subway. And the rats in the subway pull the kid out of the water. And that really threw me. Because I was like, hold on. I knew that Aquaman could like telepathically speak to like sea life and sea creatures. That's just straight up like a normal Aquaman power. But the idea that he can talk to essentially any kind of animal, I think is cool, but also kind of beyond Aquaman. Like, I don't think he should be able to talk to rats, but I guess he can talk to rats, because that's what he did. He commanded the rats to, like, pull the kid out of the water. By the way, if you're, like, a little kid who almost drowned because you can't swim and you fell in water, and then you got swarmed by, like, 20 to 30 rats that lifted you up out of the water, I think you'd be a more freaked out kid. Like, even if he's not scared of the rats, he did just have like a near-death experience. Like I don't understand. The kid, he doesn't look like not freaked out, but I feel like he doesn't look freaked out enough for the circumstance. Also, you'll notice that the little like text box has these green rings around it. Yo, Kaylee, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? Also, I'm going to be interacting more with the live chat once the review is over, so stay tuned for that. So, the rats pulling the kid out of the water, I do think is kind of crazy, because I don't think Aquaman should be able to talk to rats. If Aquaman can talk to rats, he should be able to talk to anybody. But then, if you notice those green rings that are around like the speech bubble, if we go backwards, Aquaman also uses those green rings to talk to Tempest. So he also is just telepathically talking to Tempest? And I'm like, whoa, hold on. So Aquaman can telepathically communicate with sea creatures, and he can telepathically communicate with rats, and he can telepathically communicate with Atlanteans? I'm actually okay with him being able to communicate with Atlanteans. That to me seems fine, because Atlanteans are like sea creatures, and Aquaman's an Atlantean, and I mean, how else are you supposed to like talk underwater with people? So I mean, I think that works. I'm totally fine with that. It's him talking to the rats that I think is a little weird. I don't, because that just seems like a much more powerful Aquaman than I'm used to. Because if he can talk to rats, he should be able to talk to like squirrels or like other like small rodents. And like at what point does it cut off from just like animals to people? Like could he talk to monkeys? I don't know. But anyways, Aquaman even thanks the rats. He like, just in case you might have thought, no, he didn't call the rats just happened to save that boy. He goes like, thank you, my friends. And notice how he has like the green lines when it's like telepathy, and then he can just speak out loud when there aren't green lines. So you know he's definitely talking to the rats. I think it's cool, I guess, but it's just different. Anyways, the monster like yagas into Aquaman's shoulder, and I honestly thought that like the monster was gonna rip Aquaman's arm off. In the comics, Aquaman has had his arm consumed by piranhas before. They were like piranhas that Aquaman couldn't communicate with using his telepathy. Which, believe it or not, that's like a more common thing than you think in Aquaman comics. Because I've read a lot of old Aquaman, and Aquaman would face off against like, oh, they're like fish from the future, and future fish have evolved, and they have different brains, so I can't talk to them. Or it's like, oh, they're prehistoric fish, so their brains aren't like adapted enough for me to communicate with them. Or, oh, they're like mutant fish, so their like neurobiology is different, so I can't communicate with them. Or, oh, they're robot fish, so they don't have brains, so I can't talk to them. Or, oh, they're alien fish, so they got alien fish brains, and I can't talk to them. You'd be surprised, like, how many Aquaman stories are, oh, there's just this fucking, like, fish that I can't talk to for some arbitrary reason. I guess I gotta fight it. That happens, like, all the time. But there was a certain period of time where Aquaman literally had like one of his arms eaten by piranhas. And did I just say arms eaten? One of his arms was consumed by piranhas. So then he had like a hook hand or whatever. And keep in mind that all the books that I've been reading for these like daily comic review shows, I think take place in like a different continuity from like the normal DC books, because this is technically, I think, supposed to be like the third Aquaman story in this universe in general. So I'm like, they could do the hook arm thing, and that actually would be kind of cool, because I don't think it would affect like main continuity. But it doesn't matter. Like, it says chomp and the monster roars as he bites into the shoulder, but then Aquaman's just fine afterwards. Like, Tempest even makes a big deal out of it. He's like, Aquaman! And he, like, yells. The next time we see Aquaman, he's just like, oh, wait, I'm so close to the monster now. I can, like, telepathically communicate with it. I couldn't before, I guess. I wasn't close enough. It was a proximity issue. It's like Signal for phones. I was in a dead zone, but now I can talk to it. So he tries to talk to like the giant sea monster, but the issue that he has with the giant sea monster is that it doesn't have language. So he's trying to like telepathically communicate with it, and he's like, all I can sense are like lights and sounds and images. Like the monster just takes in information, but he doesn't like have a way to phrase it. So it's like Aquaman is trying to communicate with it, but he's struggling. Meanwhile, Tempest is like, yo, this monster's got me. I can't get free, but I gotta save the people. But I can't save the people by waterbending, because they keep talking like waterbending is like pussy shit and that a lot of other magic is better. And while I agree that like being able to do whatever you want with magic is better than just waterbending, I still think they're underestimating waterbending. Like, as if you can't do a ton of shit with that. But Tempest is like, oh, I can't save all the people with just waterbending. I have to do something else. But I just think if he used his waterbending in a more creative way, like formed like bubbles around everybody and like floated them to safety or some shit, I think he can do that. Like, that doesn't seem too crazy. But he's like, I can't, though, for some reason. I need to use like a stronger spell. But I can't use a stronger spell because I'm scared, because the cost of magic is too high and it's gonna like kill everybody instead of save everybody. So Tempest is freaking out, and then Aquaman is like, well, you're like freaking out and being a pussy, Tempest. I'm gonna keep fighting this giant sea monster. So he's like trying to communicate with the giant sea monster, and he starts to like communicate with it. He finally like finds a way to communicate his ideas directly to the monster. And he can like sense the monster's thoughts. And it looks like he's tearing up a little bit in this like one shot. Oh, I was moving the wrong mouse. It looks like he's tearing up a little bit, like in this, because he's like, I feel your pain. Like, I know that you're frightened, and I know that like everyone's scared of you, but you're just as scared as them of them. Like, they just don't understand you, but I'm here for you, my guy. He's like, you just need to like calm down, be chill. I'll help you. You know, Aquaman's just kind of being nice to the monster, letting him know that like, I understand you're not the bad guy. So that's the big thing. And the monster gives him a face where he's like, you understand me. And notice how when he lets go of Aquaman's shoulder is fine. It made it seem like he could like bite through Aquaman's arm earlier. They like really hyped it up. And then it's like, nope, there's not even blood. There's no blood or anything. And you guys may be thinking to yourself, blood? I mean, there wouldn't be blood in an Aquaman comic, right? But that's not true. Last week's Aquaman comic had hella blood. I was actually surprised by how gory it was. During the monster fight in last week's Aquaman comic, Aquaman literally swims through the monster so fast that the monster like explodes into a blood cloud. So like they do have blood in these comics. It's just that monster didn't even pierce Aquaman's armor, which I guess is impressive, but it also makes those earlier scenes that were supposed to be like really tense just not really mean anything. So it feels weird. I feel like they could have given him something. He didn't need to lose an arm necessarily, but they could have like had some puncture wounds or anything. I don't know. But it makes the monster seem like he's a non-threat, in my opinion. Which technically is what they're going for, because even the monster looks like he's tearing up a little bit in this shot. You know, like they're having a bro moment, and that's how Aquaman's gonna save the day. But he mainly just talks to the serpent and tells him to be like, yo, chill out. So then the serpent calms down, and then Tempest is like, yo, Aquaman, there are too many people who are in danger. We can't save them. Like, even if we both work together, most of these people are still gonna die. And then Aquaman's like, fuck you, just save them. Do it. He's like, use your magic. They will die because you're not going to save them. It's just like, go hard. Joker popped in. Yo, the Joker, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. How's your day today? Do you have any questions for your boy? And do you have any discussion topics you like to talk about on the stream? Don't worry, Joker. I will get back to the live chat after I'm done with the review. I just wanted to let you know and to say hello. Okay, so Aquaman essentially gives Tempest this like pep talk where he's like, you can't be scared of your own power. You know, there are costs to magic, but sometimes you have to take risk, because if you don't take risk, then people are going to die. Everything that we do is risky. Everything that we do has a cost, but you're being like too cautious to the point where you're so afraid you're going to kill someone that you're going to actually let people die. So he's like, you can't have it both ways. Like, you either try to save them and they die, or you just let them die. But it's better to try than to almost be apathetic due to caution, kind of thing. He essentially tells him to stop being a pussy. And then Tempest is like, damn, I hate your lectures. Especially when they're right. And then he just teleports everybody away. He like utes them out of the water and into the city. And I was surprised that he could do that. I'm like, he can mass teleport groups of people. I'm like, Aquaman was right. He does have a power that just can kind of fix everything. That's pretty good. This is, in the like superhero battle discussion community, people will talk about stuff like battlefield removal, where a lot of times a superhero can win a fight by just removing an enemy from the battlefield. So you don't actually have to like be stronger than someone. If you just take them somewhere else where they're like incapacitated or whatever, then you just kind of win. So I think Tempest, by being able to just teleport a whole bunch of people away like this, if he wasn't so afraid of using his power, he could do stuff like, let's say Black Manta attacks or something like that. Tempest could just be like, oh, Black Manta, yeah, how about you just go to prison? Zoop! And then he could just send him to prison. Like, it just seems like Tempest is really good, but the writers are like, but he's scared though, so he doesn't just solve all the problems because he's so good. But anyways, Tempest saves all those people. They're like, wow, it's a miracle. Aquaman and the Serpent continue their bro moment. They're best friends now. Then Tempest uses his magic to repair the stone that the creature was trapped in. Because it's like a magic interdimensional tablet prison or whatever. But the monster was at peace while he was in the tablet. So, sorry about that. The monster was at peace when he was in the tablet. So they're like, it's better for him to just go back rather than to be confused and attacked in this modern world. So they put the monster back in the tablet, and then once they do, everything's just kind of Gucci. Aquaman smiles, and Tempest acts like Aquaman doesn't smile, which I think is stupid. I think Aquaman has smiled like multiple times throughout the issue. It's like they tried to have like a Batman and Robin moment where Robin's like, Batman, are you smiling? And for Batman, it makes sense. But for Aquaman, it doesn't. Because Aquaman isn't like a doom and gloom character. So it's just a really awkward interaction. I'm pretty sure Aquaman smiled earlier when he was like talking to the serpent. So it just doesn't make any sense. But Tempest gets on to Aquaman for smiling. Aquaman's like, you know I'm the king of Atlantis, right? I get you executed for that shit. Don't you, don't you talk that shit to me? Which I do think that was a funny line. I like that. But essentially, lightning strikes. Garth, aka Tempest, is like, oh, thunder. He's like, I grew up like in the ocean, so I just rarely would hear that. And then Aquaman's like, thunder's cool because it always lets me know that there's like more work to be done. And then they more or less just go out onto their next adventure. And that's pretty much it. It was a really quick book. Like compared to yesterday's book, this book just seemed to fly by. But now I'm going to tell you guys my favorite part, my least favorite part. I'm going to give a recommendation for who I think would really enjoy this book. And then I am going to read over the live chat. So my favorite part. My favorite part of this book, I'm trying to like square it down to a specific moment because the book flowed really well. I don't know of any parts where like the story was hampered by like an unnecessary scene because it was so streamlined. So I'm trying to think what's my favorite part of the book. I like that Aquaman like connects with the serpent, and when he kind of mind melds with the serpent, he has to try and like figure out how to communicate with him because he's like the serpent has no language. So he had to like invent a psychic language that the serpent could understand. And I think that's cool. It kind of reminds me of yesterday's Wonder Woman book, because in that book, Wonder Woman and this monster that she's fighting are like psychically connected and they're communicating with their minds. And Wonder Woman talks about how like the imagination of a demigod is so powerful. Like Aquaman essentially had to do psychic gymnastics in order to create something that the serpent could understand so he could telepathically communicate with him. I just think that's an interesting challenge, and I really like it when writers have these like psychic challenges like that, where it's like a creativity challenge, but it's also like high stakes. Because essentially all they're doing is using their imagination to solve a problem, but it's like you're using your imagination to try and stop a giant monster. And I think that these are just really creative ways of doing that. I'm curious if the writer for the Wonder Woman comic that came out yesterday and the writer for this Aquaman comic like talk to each other. Because it is interesting to have two comics in the same week that have that same kind of idea. And both of them kind of end in very similar ways, where it's like you have the psychic battle with the monster, and then that allows you to kind of like stop what's going on. It stops the chaos, and then everything settles. But I dug that. I think it's cool because while it's similar to what happened in the Wonder Woman comic, it's not exactly the same. It still is kind of doing its own thing with like the Aquaman flavor. So that was probably my favorite part of the comic. My least favorite part of the comic, oddly enough, I don't like the way that they did Tempest, because I love Tempest's character design. I love his power set. I do wish he would use his magic more, but I've read other Tempest stories. So I've read a little bit of like the Titans run that came out a few years ago. And during the Titans run, I think like back in like 2016, so maybe like 4 years ago. It's really not that long ago. During that, Tempest had a similar thing. He's like, I'm afraid of going all out with my magic because I know that if I go all out, the cost is too high. And it was like a way for them to kind of balance his character out to where he doesn't just break stories. And I actually kind of like it whenever Tempest has to challenge himself to use his powers in creative ways. Because he's like, my water bending isn't the strongest thing I can do, but if I'm smart about it, I can kind of still use it to solve any problem. It's kind of like if you had Batman and he had a utility belt full of gadgets, but all of his gadgets were unstable and glitchy except for batarangs. So he constantly has to figure out like new ways to use batarangs in order to solve problems because everything else has a high likelihood of just blowing up in his face. Like that's what I think is cool about the character of Tempest. But this comic is like, nah, because Aquaman can just give Tempest a pep talk and then he'll just not care anymore. And I'm like, oh, well now I feel like if they do any more like Tempest stories, he better always go all out, which is going to be interesting, I'm sure. Like that's something I want to see, but at the same time, I wish there was something more at stake to push him beyond to where he doesn't just like use his water bending. You know what I mean? Like they took a like staple part of Tempest's character that he can do more magic, but he doesn't do more magic because it's dangerous. And they said that's just not a part of him anymore. And I think there should have been something more significant to force him to cross that line and then come to terms with it. You know what I mean? I just don't think this like subway thing where all the people were like stuck in water was the best time for them to be like, water bending won't work. You have to use not water bending to save them. I'm like, they're all in water. This is the best time for him to use water bending. It just seems like a silly excuse for them to take away his handicap. But other than that, I think it's like a really solid story. Is it like the best Aquaman story that's come out of like the 3 issues so far? Probably not. Issue 1 was actually really good. I'd still probably say issue 1 of Aquaman Deep Dives is the best one. Issue 2 wasn't bad. This one's probably the second best. I actually really like Tempest. I like him better than the G.I. Joe-esque group that was in the last book, the Sea Devils. But I would recommend this book to fans of giant monster battles, which it seems like most DC comics coming out right now feature giant monster battles. So if Godzilla isn't reading these books, I don't know why. I'd recommend this book to fans of Tempest, fans of Aquaman, people who like those like psychic struggle battles, which I would love to see more of that. I do think that's cool. And I think that's kind of the end of my recommendation. I guess also people who are into like whenever they talk about the Atlantean mythology stuff, because there's a little bit of that when they're talking about the sea serpent. But those are my recommendations. Now let me read the live chat. Ba-da-ba-ba. So Volt said, yo, hit me up with them romance anime suggestions. He said, I just finished watching School Days, and that fucking anime pissed me off so much. Why? What happened in School Days to get you pissed off? Volt said, Aquaman is a G. So what about Aquaman makes him a G to you? Because I agree that Aquaman's a G. Aquaman is a really cool character. I just feel like he gets a lot of hate because people are like, oh, he talks to fish, which is kind of true. But I don't think that's like shitty. You know, like I don't think that's a bad power. Let's see. Kaylee said, hey, yo, Kaylee, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. Volt said, how does he communicate with rats? He said, I thought that shit was just sea life. He said, the authors just pulled a Deus Ex Machina. Well, I mean, to be honest, Aquaman telepathically communicates with fish and stuff like that. But I guess it's hard for me to know how his telepathy works. Because it seems like Aquaman specifically telepathically communicates with sea life, but maybe it's just that it's easier than communicating with other forms of life. Like maybe he's a telepath in general, but just with fish and stuff, it's easier. And once you get past fish, he can do it, but it's just more difficult. Because in this, he can telepathically communicate with Tempest and with rats and with like the giant serpent monster. So it's kind of all over the place. Let's see. Kaylee said, na 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 rat man. Ra 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 rat man. Let's see. Volt said, "What the fuck is Aquaman? Just a fucking buff half fish telepath?" He said, "Like, is that his real power?" So Aquaman is super strong. He can leap really far. I've seen him straight up like jump out of the ocean and into a city before. Um, I think he's like superhuman in general. Like he's faster than the normal person. I think he has like heightened senses. He's stronger. He has like incredible swimming ability. I think he's supposed to be the fastest swimmer in DC. I'm not sure if he can swim faster than Superman, but I wouldn't be surprised. Because it's like how Flash can run faster than Superman. I think if Superman was in the water, Aquaman might be able to lap him. I don't know. I think it's supposed to be like that to a certain extent. He's the king of Atlantis, so he can kind of command like the Atlantean armies and stuff like that to do things. But that doesn't come up too often because he's not like waging war all the time or anything like that. And he has like a special trident. I think sometimes his trident does stuff, but most of the time I just see him hit people with it. But I think his trident is supposed to have powers. It's supposed to be able to do things. One day I should do a video where I talk about DC characters and like cover like encyclopedic knowledge about them and stuff like that. I think that'd be cool. Let's see. Volt said, "Lol, Kaylee." Volt said, "Then he got a hook on him." Volt said, "Damn it, I don't think the Aquaman authors ever know what to do in his stories." I think there are some pretty creative Aquaman stories. They're kind of cool. Volt said, "Why the hell are his powers so inconsistent?" I don't think it's that they're inconsistent. It's just that the writers, in order to create like challenges for Aquaman, will have to come up with reasons for why his powers don't work. Which, that's true for most characters, to be honest. Let's see. Joker said hi. Yo, Joker, I hope you're doing well. Volt said, "I like that ending, NGL. Oh, I like that ending, not gonna lie. I'm glad that you vibe with it. What did you like about the ending?" Nostalgic Gaming said, at Nika Benson, "I sent you an email to the Heart of Heroes Gmail. Since I can't post links in the chat, I made a graphic for your daily comic videos." Interesting. I'll definitely have to check that out. Thank you for sending that over. I need to check the Heart of Heroes email. It's been a minute. A lot of people are now just directly connected to the Heart of Heroes doc, so people can just edit the doc directly. By the way, Volt, I still need to read over and edit your Heart of Heroes story, so I'm going to do that at some point. I was planning on doing a dream stream tonight, but to be honest, I kind of just want to write. I might do a writing vlog tonight instead of doing dreams. We will see. Volt said, "God, that main character in School Days is such an annoying, horny fuck." He said, "And Aquaman is a G because dude has interesting stories and and can be done well. It just seems a lot of authors have no way of writing for him." He said just how they wrapped up the battle with the serpent. Oh, okay, cool. So I think Aquaman is more hit than miss. Like, Aquaman's a really cool character, and I think writers do know how to tell good Aquaman stories, but I think the character of Aquaman isn't appealing to a lot of people on the surface. Like, if you put Aquaman on the cover of a book, I don't think it sells as well as if you put, like, Batman on the cover, or, like, Wonder Woman on the cover, or, like, Superman on the cover, or even, like, Harley Quinn on the cover. Like, Aquaman, I don't think, like, pulls in those numbers. But I think he's written well, and he's interesting, and they do a lot of cool stuff with Aquaman. Like, I don't think there's been a bad Aquaman book, like, this whole time, out of, like, these new DC digital first new releases. All the Aquaman books have at the very least been like okay. None of them have just been bad. Whereas Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman have all had kind of like worse comics, which is crazy because they're considered the Trinity of DC. They're supposed to be like the biggest, most recognizable names of DC, but they all have kind of had a miss comic in like the last like 3 weeks, but Aquaman's been going strong like the whole time. Then Nostalgicade said, I hope I didn't overstep on that. I was bored and just made it. No, 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 no. I don't think you overstepped at all. So I haven't checked it out yet. I am going to check out the graphic. Um, I love the idea of you guys like sending in art for stuff. Whether or not I use it as the thumbnail, I don't know. But worst case scenario, I still enjoy the fact that you made it. You know what I mean? Like I love fan art. Earlier today, I was thinking about how it'd be really cool to see like more Heart of Heroes art. Like if you guys got really into any of like the characters or the concepts or like the ideas from Heart of Heroes, just seeing what you guys would come up with. I think that would be really cool. I earlier was like imagining like an animated scene in my head, but I'm not very good at like drawing. Um, so I don't think I could actually make it myself. But I was thinking about like Ejat and how he like summoned swords and stuff like that. By the way, I have a really cool idea that I want to put in Heart of Heroes tonight. So I think I probably will do a writing vlog. I originally was more hyped for Dreams, but I feel like I haven't had enough time to do like Heart of Heroes stuff recently. So now I have like multiple ideas that I just think have been like waiting to be realized, and I'm like, well, now's the time. Now I should just do them. So that's probably what I'm gonna do next. I'll probably take a little break before I do that. So I'm gonna end the stream, maybe take like a moment to like message with Beth for a bit. Check out your Heart of Heroes art that you sent. Well, specifically your thumbnail art for the daily comic reviews, because I'm hyped to see it, and I can email you back, tell you what I thought about it. Maybe use it as the thumbnail. I think that could be cool. Let's see. Nostalgic Gaming said, "What time will the writing vlog be?" So right now on my clock, it's 7:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Maybe I could take like a 30-minute break and we do the writing vlog at like 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time, since 8 is like our normal streaming time anyways. And then we can start jumping into some Heart of Heroes stuff. Volt said, Jet, no one is bad at drawing. It's linked to your prefrontal cortex. You have to work it out. Kaylee said, I'm watching a movie at 8:30, so if you want to do the Dreams Challenge another day, that'd work. Okay, cool. I'd be down to do the Dreams Challenge another day. It seems like it's a good day to do the writing vlog then, because if we had done Dreams, we wouldn't have been able to do the challenge. Let's see. And you're right, Volt. It is something that I have to work out. I don't know. It's something where it's like, I don't feel like when I try to draw stuff that I can get it to look the way that I imagine it. And it just kind of throws me. Like it's something where I get like more disappointed in like me drawing something. You know what I mean? Volt said, it's just working out your brain, that's all. The Nostalgic K Gaming put up that thumbs up. Volt said, the more you try it, the better your mind understands how to do it. That's understandable. I actually have been really enjoying sculpting in Dreams. I don't know why, but I like creating stuff in like 3-dimensional space. I don't think the stuff that I create in Dreams is mind-blowing or anything, but I feel like it might be easier for me to create stuff like in 3D